Before I would start a new job, my mother would ask for me to straighten my hair. She would tell me things like, Bobby, me beg for you. Go on, go make up your face. Put a little weave in your head, do something. Do something to help you blend in. And this suggestion would, of course, anger a younger version of Leeyan because why is my mama asking me to blend in? As if the very essence of my black beauty was too loud, or as if I wasn't already working on some internal damage of growing up black in predominantly white schools. Growing up Jamaican, my parents would speak to me and my siblings in patois, but they would rarely encourage us to speak it outside of our home. We would learn stories of other Jamaican students and how the second they stepped foot into a classroom and said, Wagwan, instead of hello, good morning, just how quickly they could be propped into an ESL course load and written off without much regard to their intellect. My parents didn't want that to be our narrative. So this assimilation blanket that my mother was trying to lay, well, she was doing so to protect her daughter. To protect her daughter from the world that had shown itself to be unkind to black bodies and black voices. To avoid the stigmatization for being exactly who we are. And now my father, he used to have us read the dictionary, the children's Webster's. We would highlight words, use them in sentences, but I start flexing. I go to grocery stores telling folks what a compound word is and how to identify homophones right here in the grocery store. Wow, she's so smart, such a bright girl. This, of course, would make him smile, and it would make me smile as well. From an early age, the way that I had expressed myself, it impressed others and brought pride to my parents. And when you grow up like me, with two parents who sacrificed endlessly to provide a life for you better than their own, you want to make sure you position yourself in this life to make some power moves. All that to say, it wasn't just the coils of my hair that had been under excessive heat and pressure. So was I. So when my mother would ask for me to straighten out my roots, I'd comply. You see, she believed that having straight roots would be a straighter route towards success. If I ironed out my presence, combed through my true self, ensuring that nothing besides myself could be easy to manage. And that was just the beginning of a series of efforts that I would make as a young woman to impress others, gain approval, and fit in. I knew that I looked different, but I was unaware that I was sounding different each and every day. Today I would like to talk about the variety of voice for Black women. Black women, we are trailblazers, record breakers, change makers, sources of life, hope, and promise for so many. Although previously disregarded, we've remained fully committed towards everything our hands touch. The stories of women before me have instilled in me the power of my voice, my instrument of advocacy and song. Now, the negative stereotypes that are often associated with Black women stem back to the enslaved times, then further popularized during the Jim and Jane Crow era. Caricatures such as the dutiful Mammy, the sharp sapphire, the promiscuous Jezebel. Films and literature such as Gone with the Wind and The Imitation of Life would further propagate these ideologies. Yet, in 2024, why are we still fed these one-dimensional depictions of Black women in the media? These one-dimensional depictions have impacted the way we as Black women have had to navigate through society and also the way society has just worked around us. And to quote Malcolm X, the most disrespected person in America is the Black woman. The most unprotected person in America is the Black woman. The most neglected person in America is the Black woman. Yet, why is also the most imitated person also the Black woman? From rhythm to lips to prose to hips and so on is the Black woman. And I'm sure we'd like to believe that our minds are impervious to the effects of media. We can formulate our own thoughts, ideas, and opinion on our own without any outside influence, but that's not true. You see, we're fed these tired tropes, and they manifest. However, when they resurface, they take on a new form. And they'll show up, but they'll show up as microaggressions in the classroom. They show up when natural hairstyles are deemed unprofessional. They show up in medical disparity, when Black women communicate that they are in pain, but they're ignored because they're strong. It shows up when Black girls go missing and the news won't report it. It shows up when the infant mortality rate is the highest amongst Black women regardless of education. It shows up when Black women are constantly displayed as hypersexual beings rather than individuals capable and deserving of love. And it shows up when I speak my mind, and instead of being listened to, I'm just seen as angry and bitter. Black girls, we're not allowed to just be. And I love being a Black woman. It's God's gift to me. I love being a Black woman, and I love the sound of us. I can communicate without opening my mouth. A simple look would suffice. But when I open my mouth and when we open our mouths, the atmosphere is filled with the varying tones, accents, and trend-setting phrases that will leave our lips. Now, I'm from New York, Long Island specifically. You might have heard that by now. And I remember coming to Boston for the first time. The melting pot of cultures and colleges. And I also remember how folks would tell me that my voice, and specifically my linguistic identity, would frequently be at play in my conversations. Your linguistic identity, according to Science Direct, can be best explained as the way your environment, culture, and community practices influence your communication style. However, I'd like to take this definition a step further, highlighting that individuals are capable of developing multiple linguistic identities. We are allowed to be proud of the way that we sound. It reflects and projects who we are and where we are from. Now, Black women, we've adopted multiple linguistic identities to safely maneuver through different spaces, environments, social settings. It's a survival instinct to code switch. Vocal flexibility becoming my sword and shield. Let me throw in a big word there, but soften my tone here. But put a certain swing in my voice to make sure I sound friendly. Juggling these identities, it's second nature, but have I involuntarily been on the defense of other people's ignorance my whole life? When do we as Black women get to put a pause on doing copious amounts of emotional labor, being peacemakers in situations when we've been disrespected? When do we as Black women get to put down our armor? Do we get to put down our armor? In the book Becoming by Michelle Obama, she reflects on a moment when she and a group of her friends were hanging out. One of them stopped to ask her, "Hey, Michelle, why do you talk like that? Kind of sound like a white girl." I remember reading this part of her memoir and I shut the book because I was triggered. And if I had $1 for every time someone in this life has asked me, why do I talk like a white girl, or told me that I sound like one, well, I'd have enough money as Mrs. Michelle Obama. We are allowed to be proud of the way that we sound. It reflects and projects who we are and where we are from. At my first job in high school, me and my coworkers were engaging in some very healthy discourse regarding the culturally shifting film that we would recognize as High School Musical. Talking about what characters we would want to be, Sharpay, Gabriella, but at that point, there weren't many Black female leads in Disney films. So I chose Taylor McKessie, intelligent, confident, beautiful, all of the things that I wanted to be. However, during my explanation of this, my imagination bubble was popped. My manager insisted that I'd be best selecting another character. He said to me, "Leeyan, I think you should choose someone else. Besides, you're not even that Black." The tone of his voice was so sure. It was as if he felt he was doing me a service by renouncing my Blackness. I was in high school. I didn't really know what was at play in that moment, but I felt so small. I could have fit through the eye of a needle. I didn't really know how to respond, so the only thing I could softly say was, "Huh?" And I want to note that even in this moment where I had been disrespected, my response was still naturally timid. As a Black woman, you realize that your natural emotions and reactions can often be misunderstood and misinterpreted. So we often conceal for the betterment of others, only at a disservice to ourselves. The only thing I could softly reply was, "Huh?" To which he said, "You don't talk like a Black girl. You don't really act like one either." As I mentioned, I was at work, thinking I could just show up and perform in the same way everyone else gets to, but in that moment I realized I had been under a different level of surveillance. So much so, my presence crossing the wires in his mind for what his schema was of Black woman. I didn't know that when Shakespeare said all the world was a stage and we are merely its characters, that there would forever be a spotlight atop of my head. I didn't know. The National Institutes of Health explain that we are seeing high rates of Black fatigue in professional settings. Perhaps the frustration from the day-to-day microaggressions, the exhaustion from feeling the need to prove yourself, prove your worth, prove your Blackness, prove that you deserve to fight for the very things that get handed to our counterparts. Trying to excel in an environment that perpetuates this can lead to very serious mental and physical health implications. And I wish I could say moments like those were far and few between in my life, but I realized as I continued to grow and progress, just how much brighter that spotlight was becoming, and also how much softer my voice was too. So many moments in my life I felt like I couldn't be Leeyan. She was too much, but also not enough in the same moment. Thought it would just be best if I played the part, took a bow, and went home. I knew that I looked different, and I was starting to understand why I was sounding different each and every day. The National Institutes of Health explain that we are seeing high rates of Black fatigue in professional setting. I have experienced Black fatigue in professional settings. If we don't commit ourselves to improving the environment so that Black people can be empowered and feel free to be as who they are in whatever space that they enter, we will not continue to see the diversity, the specialization, the representation of our people in these settings. I remember at my first internship in college, my manager trusted me with the opportunity to attend a meeting in her absence. I was excited. I'm like, ooh, I'm her. Trust me, let's go. Go to the meeting. Bang it out, awesome. She comes to my desk later that day. Hey, Leeyan, when will the materials be sent over? I knew this answer. I said, he said just wait on it. It's gonna hit your inbox later. She was still standing there. I said, She leaned in close to me and said, he said to wait on it? Understanding she wasn't picking up what I was trying to put down, I explained what was said verbatim. Satisfied with that answer, she walked away. And as she walked away, I shrank just a little deeper into my seat because, forgot to code switch. I've had many slip-ups with using slang or African-American vernacular English in professional settings, but as I said, that spotlight can be bright and, is it draining? But it's always intrigued me the way that slang and AAVE can be praised in one moment yet ridiculed in another, perhaps dependent on the community or the group that gets to capitalize from its usage. Nevertheless, a testament to the intellect and the adaptability of Black people, and how the same very words that we are once ridiculed for can be the same phrases that set the tone for a movement. In the book Sister Citizen by Melissa Harris Perry, the metaphor of the crooked room is utilized. The crooked room describes the unlevel plane, where the misrecognition and lack of acknowledgement will diminish the contributions of women of color. As a Black woman, I stand before you on that same unlevel plane, in an uneven playing field. And I've been often expected to stand upright and succeed, with a smile nonetheless. I've spent so much of my professional career trying to force fit myself into crooked rooms, trying to ascribe to molds that were not designed with me in mind, and I had to realize enough is enough. And it was at a previous organization. At my daily curtain call to perform well in the office, the voice that had once sustained me had been stifled to the point of suppression. I was silently suffering, labeled with the same words I worked my whole life to stray away from. Angry, unprofessional, even bad nonverbal communication. In so many moments where I had been silenced, my presence still remained too loud for folks. But I'd still try and work hard and prove myself because that's what we do as Black women, we prevail. But I realized, girl, you can't fit in no crooked room. And it's a blessing the way that inspiration can find you in the most unexpected ways. A large part of the work that I do today is mentorship. Mentoring students has always been a passion of mine. Their hustle and openness inspire me. I realize when I'm connecting with students, I'm not on the same high alert in regards to my linguistic identity. I'm showing up as me, being heard for exactly who I am and accepted for it nonetheless. Young people can recognize and they value an authentic voice, an authentic presence, a genuine person in their life. They help me to realize that my voice can vary because my stories have done the same. My life experiences have socialized me to feel that I need to shift who I am in every space that I enter, to feel accepted, to be seen, to feel loved. I'd done such a disservice to myself by not fully showing up as Leeyan Redwood every single day. I used to care so much about other people's perceptions of me that I'd lost the sight and the sound of who I was. And I'm so grateful to the students, the young people in my life, the mentoring relationships that I've built that held up that mirror to me and showed me that being exactly who I am is my greatest gift in this world. When you get the chance to connect with young people, and I encourage you to do so, be sure to speak life over them, encouraging them to walk in their truth, being sound in their own voice. We are all living and breathing testimonies that all things are working for good. And when you can inspire someone else with your legacy, you have turned your once mayhem into a melody. We need to sing our songs of life in whatever key we desire because acceptance is not an audio cue. The variety of voice, the power of your authenticity. Do the shadow work. Embark on that journey of self-discovery. Find the matches in your life to reignite the fire inside of you. Fall back in love with yourself after the world has told you to do otherwise. Because the versatility that is your voice and the stories that you can tell, in there lies your power. Because when I open my mouth, it's not just words that'll come out. You'll hear my childhood. You'll hear my pain. You'll hear my mother's lessons. But you will never hear shame. Thank you.